Hi, I'm MarzGurl.
I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
And welcome to episode 117 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover Season 3, Episode 1 of City Hunter, titled Mokkori Declaration, XYZ Saves the World.
Well, we're on City Hunter 3!
Welcome to City Hunter 3, ladies and gentlemen.
That's pretty cool. This is a short season. It's only 13 episodes. One core, 13 episodes. It got started not too long after Season 2 ended.
It was a little bit of a break, though.
Like 2 months, that's pretty good considering they took practically no breaks from City Hunter to City Hunter 2.
Well,
and that was more than 2 years straight.
It was a little more than that, because the last season ended in July of 89. This picked up again in October of 89. So that's more than 2.
More than 2 months. I think it's slightly less than 3 months.
Yeah, it's about 3 months, give or take.
Depending on the day of the month, is what I'm saying, though.
Yes. And you're going to notice some changes here. The art is going to be noticeably different. Not completely off-putting, just different.
The art, actually, I feel like they probably had a slightly bigger budget to have slightly better animation than the last 2 seasons. Because I do think the animation mostly looks pretty good, but we do have a shorter season because of it, right?
Right.
The art style is just mildly different. Like you said, it's not off-putting, but it is different. And the biggest difference is now they've got Ryo pushing slightly closer to looking like his manga counterpart. I understand why they would want to do that, but it's a little jarring. Like, he's in all white now? It's kind of weird.
Like, it's very Miami Vice looking.
In motion in the anime, to me, it just looks kind of weird. It's like, this feels wrong.
Like, it's kind of where people get that preconceived notion, like, when they've never seen City Hunter before, and then they see City Hunter, it's like, why is this guy cosplaying Don Johnson from Miami Vice?
Miami Vice.
And as you guys might be able to hear, there's a helicopter flying overhead. This one's gonna have another opening with the helicopter.
Oh boy, more helicopters that Ryo's gotta shoot down. Yeah. He does that a lot, I guess.
We'll get more into that here in just a second, but of course, we still have to give you guys a little bit of talking point about Netflix City Hunter, because it's been doing really well.
It's been doing a lot better, and I feel like now we've had more people talking to us about City Hunter since this came out. I feel like I've had a lot less Jackie Chan-isms in the last few weeks.
Well, it's like we were saying over the last couple of weeks, like the Jackie Chan people were getting all riled up leading up to the movie.
And now, like, they kind of went away. They were like, oh, this isn't the same at all.
Well, yeah, because a bunch of people on the internet have been, shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about.
Thank God you guys were there.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
All of you fighting the good fight and making sure they all shut the hell up and learn about City Hunter. But it's cool that we're realizing stuff, like, we know we did almost 3 hours on that movie already.
Yeah, so we don't need to cover a whole heck of a lot more.
But still, it's a couple of little things that when you go back and look at it, it's like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, we have to point this out. In the movie, right after the title card comes up, there's the scene where Ryo goes and looks at the chalkboard again, where Cowdy's told him, get in touch with me.
Right.
You hear a radio announcement talking about the death of Makimura.
Turns out that's Akira Kamiya, who is the voice of Ryo throughout the anime.
Like, we can't, like, I'm sorry we missed that covering it, but we have to mention it.
It went completely over my head. What can I say? I had to have, I think, Reddit tell me that.
Well, that, and there are Netflix videos now talking about it.
Right, that's true. Because Akira Kamiya also started doing press along with the rest of the Netflix cast.
Right.
So lots of
voice actress as well.
Lots of interviews.
And the thing about it is, these interviews, some of them are getting officially subtitled in English. So we're learning a lot more of what it took to make this movie. Like, the head of the stunt department for the movie was already a huge City Hunter fan.
Right.
But going into that, we were already kind of aware of this before the movie and during the movie, and now these behind-the-scenes things that Netflix Japan is putting out confirm that Ryohei Suzuki, who played Ryo in the movie, went overseas to train with a 357 Magnum.
He did so much shit. Like, we see him say, yeah, notice, I don't even need to look at this gun anymore. I practiced with it so many times, and I needed to make it look real because the prop on set is not a real gun, because guess what, American Hollywood movies? That is the correct thing to do when you are filming a movie that has guns. You don't give your actors a real gun. Now, props to the actor who decided maybe I should practice with a real gun to understand what that would feel like and what it would look like. But now he's got to go take that into the movie and really recreate the realistic sensation of utilizing that 357 Magnum.
Well, it's not just that, it's two scenes in particular, and it wasn't until actually Coyote's original voice actors pointed this out in one of the interviews that I totally took it for granted that in those two scenes, one at the beginning of the movie when he disassembles a gun in 2 seconds flat without looking.
Yes.
And then towards the end of the movie, at that big old gunfight, he does his quick reload of the 357 Magnum without looking.
Exactly.
And you just take it for granted, like, oh yeah, that's absolutely something Ryo would do.
He can do that at any time now. He'll just do that in front of a camera during an interview. He'll just do it at any time because now he can do that.
Now he's gained that ability. It's like when Kick-Ass came out and Chloe Grace Moritz learned how to use a butterfly knife, and she was demonstrating on, I forget which talk show it was, that she could now open and close a butterfly knife at will.
Yeah.
All, artfully.
It's frightening to me. I wouldn't want to do that.
I'd like to have that skill. It's cool looking.
It looks cool, but I'm not interested.
I mean, yeah, practically when you need to use that, but
exactly.
Still. But it's just the level at which these people were putting that much effort into the movie is why it came out so good.
It's really interesting, too. Apparently, the staff of this Netflix production offered Ryohei, the lead actor, they offered to sell him the Mini Cooper.
And then he decided, you know what? I don't know if I can keep up with the upkeep. Let's let them sell it to some other fan. And we're over here like, bro, you turned it down?
He did say, oh, that would have been a dream come true. I really would have wanted that thing, but I don't know. And in Japan, I guess it's slightly less realistic. Unless you live farther away where it's more necessary to have a car, farther away from cities, right? I feel like if he is living in Tokyo, and I bet he lives near Tokyo because if he's a working actor, he probably lives near Tokyo.
It was interesting that we were seeing, he said in one of these interviews that he had to get a different kind of license because there's a difference between having a license for an automatic car versus standard.
For manual, yeah. I was surprised by that because I knew that, licenses were different, functioned differently. And of course, over here, you have a Class M license for a motorcycle, or you get a whatever truckers...
The commercial license.
Commercial CDL license, right? That's what that's called.
I believe.
Anyway, we don't have to get a difference between manual or automatic on our license/IDs. I guess that's a thing that is in Japan that I have just now learned existed, so great.
But still sticking on that Mini Cooper topic, it was funny hearing Ryohei Suzuki and Akira Kamiya talking about what it was like being in and around the Mini, and both of them talking about Umibozu wouldn't fit in this.
It's funny that they felt like they needed to talk about Umibozu because Umibozu is mostly not in that movie.
but to clarify that, so in between all of this stuff, with one of these live streams that they had been doing with Misato Morita and Ryohei Suzuki promoting the movie, there was one live stream, or whatever they call it when you live stream on Twitter.
They used to call it Periscope, but now, it's just a
whatever
Twitter live,
now.
Whatever it is now.
The Twitter live. They were doing one, and this guy who was in the movie cosplaying/playing Umibozu, his name's Mafia Kajita. He's a radio personality who's also a really big City Hunter and Umibozu fan.
He's also, I guess, done articles for, I believe the outlet is 4Gamer. It's a Japanese gaming news outlet. I've read articles from them before in the past.
Yeah. Also, it's pretty hardcore. This dude's named Mafia. I'm pretty sure he gave it to himself.
But
still.
He probably was not born with that name.
But, he showed up and he, was hiding in the background and was waiting for them to notice, and they're like, oh my god, Umibozu! And then he just joined the live stream.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he could just do that.
What, are you gonna tell Umibozu no?
No.
See?
This dude is legitimately 6'4".
As a Japanese person. That's
not very common.
It's not common, but it's pretty cool.
But I'm saying, if they're letting him do this much stuff in interaction with the cast, where's my sequel?
I know, it should, but now they've sold the car, so if they want to make another movie, they have to buy another car now.
Or ask the guy they sold it to, hey, can we borrow that for a month and a half? We kind of need it for something. Well, and if you're the fan, you would be an asshole to say no.
We'll pay you to rent the car from you. We'll give it right back.
Like, you say yes.
I know. I'm sure they can find another one if they need to.
I mean, probably, but even then, they were saying they went through a lot of trouble to find that particular model.
Mind you, they could pick pretty much any model from the 1960s because every time Ryo drives a Mini Cooper in the anime, it is just ever so slightly different because they're referencing a slightly different model of Mini Cooper every time they draw it.
And he's blown up like 6 of them.
He's gone through a few of them, so long as you don't get up to the more modern, like, early 2000s and onwards Mini Coopers, you could kind of get away with it.
But still, those are just really interesting facts about the movie that they're letting us know about. I like that they've been so forthcoming with all this information since the movie's come out, and that most people who've seen it have been rating it positively, like, oh my god, this is a really good action movie. I think I want to get into this. It's like, well, come on in. There's plenty of room.
Plenty of room. We need more people to talk to, man. We really do, because we only have so many. Although, it does feel like there has been a moderate uptick. Very moderate. It is very small, but it is bigger than it used to be.
We're talking about an uptick of like 6 people.
Yeah. But I mean, there's 6 people I didn't know about before. So,
yeah, but y'all out there. Y'all real ones.
Somewhere, yeah.
But to continue talking about it, let's talk about Season 3.
Yeah, Season 3 is now, like, this is just, it's so nice that the Netflix movie fell just in our recording timeline, in between Seasons 2 and 3. It was just very convenient.
It's perfect for us. So now we get to talk about the new opening here, which is Running to Horizon by Tetsuya Komuro.
Okay, and
we gotta talk about this for a
I really
sec.
need to talk about this opening because it mostly, like, if only the lead singer didn't come in.
Well, because
this would be a pretty good open. This is early Eurobeat. This is like
I don't even know about Eurobeat.
It's the tail end of Italia Disco going into what Eurobeat evolved
that's the thing.
into.
You and I have a difference of opinion on this because you think it sounds like early.
It sounds like Italia Disco to me.
To me, it sounds like Phil Collins.
Well, sure. Yes, I can see where you would get that from. But
like late 80s, early 90s Phil Collins.
But it's the speed and it's the instrumentation.
That's why I'm saying it sounds like Phil Collins.
So, did Phil Collins make Italia Disco?
I mean, he could if he wanted to.
He
had that kind of
could
juice. He had that kind of juice.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's a very upbeat song. The intro to me totally sounds like it. And this is just our reaction between it. I know some people really like the song. Nothing against them. It's just our personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The song, the intro there, it's very upbeat. That yeah, step on the gas.
No, step on the gas.
It's like, okay.
That part's not bad.
And then this guy comes in with this really nasal voice. It's like, oh no, shut up, what are you doing? You had a really good track there.
This is a very strange opening, just like in the animation too. I don't understand what's happening.
Well, because out of all the City Hunter intros we end up getting, this is the most highly detailed one.
Right.
Like, it's almost at movie level to me. Like, if we had, like, done a real, no, we put some money into this,
like,
big
actually,
budget.
Honestly, this whole season kind of looks like the quality that you get out of the movie 357 Magnum, or possibly on the quality of Bay City Wars, right?
No, this is higher than Bay City Wars.
It's pretty good, and so is this opening. Like, the animation is good, I just don't understand what is going on.
Well,
so Ryo is, like, opening up a fridge, and it's got a beer in it, and it's got a note from Kaori that's like, don't drink this beer, and, like, that's
Or don't drink too much.
And that part is fine, except I'm looking around the room, and I'm like, whose room is this? Whose building is this? This isn't you don't live here. This place is trash.
This isn't y'all's
This
apartment.
is garbage. How did Kaori get in here to put a label on this beer can to tell you, Ryo, not to drink it? What is going on?
And for half the song, Ryo's just kind of staring at the can and the note. And then out of nowhere, this helicopter, again, an attack helicopter in an opening, that part tracks. And it's shooting at Kaori. Kaori has to, like, jump out of the way. And for whatever reason, she's got, like, some James Bond spy shit watch with a grappling hook on it that she uses to grapple onto the side of the building and come in through a window next to Ryo. And I'm like, she never has that.
She doesn't get
She doesn't use spy gear. What is this?
A grappling wrist hook? Yeah. No, if she did use it, I mean, it would be pretty cool, but, like, that's new. So.
Where'd y'all get that idea from? Her thing is hammers.
Yeah, bring out the hammer in the opening. Also, we've got this tilting shot from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen.
Of this building that they're in currently.
We're looking at the outside of this building, and it's covered in lights and billboards and neon and stuff like that. And in the background, there is art of Al Jolson in blackface.
Which was a thing that is historically, he did that.
He did
and
that shit.
That is not cool.
What is it specifically that Al Jolson blackface?
Look, don't worry about it. You can look that up on your own. Just look up Al Jolson, and it comes up pretty damn fast when you look up the images of him.
Is it this?
Basically, yeah.
I've just looked it up, and I'm like, well, that sure looks like it.
Specifically, they have drawn this art on the side of this building. I don't know why Sunrise decided this was a good idea.
Now, mind you, Japan is just extremely inspired by our media, and they think if we thought it was okay, surely it's okay. And then they just put it in there.
This is us from 2024 and earlier for people who knew better, calling back to y'all saying, don't do that shit. That's awful shit. Don't draw that.
It was 1989 when they drew it. It doesn't come up again.
What are you talking about? We have to see this for 13 episodes.
No, yeah, but they only drew it once.
But then they show it for 13 episodes.
I know what I'm saying is they don't draw more.
Yeah, but they drew it once.
I know.
And then made sure we saw it for 13 episodes.
I know. You're right.
One of the other major reasons why we don't like this opening.
Yeah, it is a very small thing, way off in the background, but it was very plain to me.
But if you've done your historical homework on things that are not cool in media, you're aware of this.
This would be one of them.
Yeah, so fair warning to y'all. Just a fair warning that that's there. Anyway, we say all that to say we're not really big fans of this opening. This is my least favorite opening.
This is easily my least favorite opening. Mind you, I'll sit there and listen to the instrumental version of this opening.
Song on its own without anybody singing over it is fine. In fact, I think you hear it instrumental there in Shinjuku Private Eyes during the photo shoot scene.
Yes, that is correct. Yes, in Shinjuku Private Eyes. And I remember we were sitting there watching it, and you were starting to hum along with it, and I had to be like, we're in a Japanese theater, you can't do that, shh.
Oh, no, you mean during Angel Dust.
It was in Angel Dust.
No, you're right. It was one of the movies.
I do not remember it being in Shinjuku Private Eyes.
I think it is it's in both, actually, I think. But no, you're right, you did tell me to shut up, because
I
started humming there. Mind you, I'm the American who showed up to a Japanese theater in full Ryo cosplay.
Yeah, Japanese people think that shit's weird, so,
Hey, look, I love the movie.
Mind you, the outfit doesn't look bad in real life. If you don't know, then you don't know. Except you were walking around Shinjuku. I promise somebody knew.
Yeah, and they gotta know what's up, and they know I know what's up. But in any case, we digress, and we actually talk about the case at hand, which starts off with a woman by the name of Misuzu Moriwaki. And she is walking around Shinjuku, just minding her own damn business, and we notice that someone is trying to kill her in multiple ways to make it look like it's an accident.
So one of those ways, the opening way, is that a truck comes rolling downhill at her. This is like a semi-truck, right?
Yeah, clearly somebody just put it in neutral.
Yeah, because the engine's not running, so they just kind of lifted their foot off the brake, and here it comes. You hear the crackle of, the tire
gravel
rolling downhill on the pavement, yeah.
Like somebody had it in neutral and, moved the boot out of the way or something to keep it from rolling, and just let it try to roll into traffic.
Into the wall that's at the bottom of the hill.
Like somebody wants to make a Moriwaki sandwich.
I mean, thankfully she dodges out of the way. She does not get hit. That would make for a very short episode. It would be over very quickly. But unfortunately, that's not the last of the danger, because then she's waiting for a train. Clearly the Yamanote line.
Clearly during rush hour. It's clearly a very jam-packed platform, so there's a lot of people there.
And the train is approaching, and somebody just goes, whoop, and pushes her as the train is coming into the station. And thankfully, for some reason on this platform, there is this tiny alcove that she can this nook that she can duck into away from the train. I don't remember seeing a lot of shit like that, but maybe, I was not there in 1989. Maybe they just had those. I don't know.
Luckily for her, she lives. That's the whole point.
She lives. She hides from the train on the train tracks.
So we assume that logically, if she's in need of help, she has to go to a certain chalkboard and write down a certain set of letters in a certain order. corridor to get some help. So we see that Kaori is now walking over to the chalkboard to check on things, and apparently shit's bad right now because she's very hungry because they haven't had a case in about 3 months.
Oh no, Kaori hasn't eaten in 3 months, Josh!
Well, that's how she's playing it. Like,
yeah.
You hear her stomach growling, and we do have to point out here, like, yes, the art is a little different, but here in this episode is the first instance of what we see here in these more recent movies of what we call mullet Kaori.
I hate Kaori's hair here. I'm pretty sure it's from here on. Her hair is fairly bad. It changes from time to time.
Less so in those last few movies like Secret Service when it's a lot shorter.
Sure.
And she's wearing darker colors. I love that version of Kaori.
I do too.
But like mullet, like no, like you're trying to update the hairstyle, but mullet was not the way to go, yo. She looks like she's wearing a coonskin cap, almost.
Yeah, and the coonskin is her hair, yeah.
And also the color is different now because
it's slightly more auburn looking.
No, it's less auburn and more just like flat brown.
I guess.
There's way less
anyway,
red in it.
The hair's ugly. The hair's ugly. It's not super great.
But she's saying, like, she's moved all of her savings out. Like, she's used up all of what she's got to try and feed herself. And she's really hoping there's something on the chalkboard. Thankfully, there's something on the chalkboard.
Yeah, there's an XYZ. She's very happy about this. It means they're gonna eat. So, Kaori has placed a phone call to Ryo. Ryo is back at their apartment, and he has answered the phone.
But the thing about it is, you see right before he answers the phone, he's not hungry. He's been just running up a tab eating donburi without Kaori around to also partake.
Well, donburi is delicious, Josh.
But it also means he's a selfish fat ass.
He's not a fat ass. He's clearly not a fat ass.
Well, I mean, he's cleared like 5 or 6 of these little containers.
It doesn't make him fat. It does make him hungry, though.
Well, yes, but it's just, you should be sharing that with your partner.
Yes, he's being very rude.
But she's calling him all frantic, like, oh my god, get down to the station! Get down here right now! And he's like, what happened? Somebody hit on you? No, that happens every day, just get down here! He's like, alright, fine. And he gets down there, and she's crying so hard in front of the chalkboard.
And so Ryo thinks there's a problem, but no, there's not a problem. She's just, like, so happy and so relieved. Like, oh my god, we got one! And he's like, we got one? What? What is this?
Look, XYZ!
But yeah, what's an XYZ? Like, it's been so long that he's playing it, like, I don't think that it's real, but he is playing it up that he does not remember what XYZ means.
So I took this one of two ways, and it could be even both. I took it as one, he's dicking with her, which was more than likely the correct answer, like, oh, it's been so long, what does that even mean? And two, there's also this pretty sizable crowd around them, and last we checked, he's trying to hide that he's City Hunter, so he wouldn't want to answer that shit in front of a whole crowd.
Right.
But also to that end, we're looking at the faces in this crowd, and there's some really detailed faces now.
Yeah, some of these faces are really strange. Like, there's 5 or 6 dudes in the background that, like, in older seasons, they wouldn't care about faces. Sometimes they might not even draw whole faces.
Right, exactly.
It'd be like little dots maybe for eyes and noses or whatever. Like, just barely their faces. These are dudes that are like, their faces are so detailed, it's almost uncomfortable.
Yeah, like, and plus they all have this very serious look on their face, like, what's going on here?
These are very realistic looking Japanese businessmen in the background
who are very concerned about the scene they're watching. So Kaori's trying to push Ryo, like, come on, we gotta go get this case right now, let's go, but I'm so tired, I'm so hungry.
I'm so hungry.
And Ryo's like, alright, I'll get you a tiny little snack that I can afford. Meanwhile, his ass ain't fessing up that he's been making sure he's fed. But no, he gets her, like, a little bread roll and, like, a
juice box. They're in the car. She's eating in the car while he's driving, right? I'm realizing he's now driving a Western model car, right?
Yes.
Like, now the steering wheel is over on the left-hand side.
That is
this
correct.
happens every so often.
Well, this is the first noticeable time since the last time we saw the Mini in the last episode. Yeah, Ryo was on the right-hand side, now he's on the left-hand side.
He's got it. In the last 3 months, he got a new car.
Yeah.
But no, Kaori's eating in this car, which means they don't have any rules about eating in the car. Great, I respect that. I'm down for that.
Sometimes you're hungry.
Yeah.
It happens.
People who won't let you eat in their car, you don't need that kind of hate in your life.
No, like, you roll with people like you're all eating Sonic in your car. Like, that's just what you do.
Yeah, so she has shoved this bread roll, like, from the bottom. She's got her hand at the bottom of the bread and just forces it, like, almost
like Homer Simpson.
That kind of unhinge your jaw kind of look, and then sucks down this juice box real fast.
And she's like, oh my god, I'm so glad we're getting this case. I'm gonna eat all the things as soon as we get paid.
I'm just listing off all these things like sukiyaki and steak and donburi and everything you can possibly think of. I will eat it all.
And Ryo's having to remark, well, it's funny that you said that we've got a case, but I noticed this is a woman who's hired us. You actually allowed for a woman client? You know how I get with women clients.
She's hungry. Kaori is hungry, so of course, like, she's gotta eat. She's gotta just let him accept this job. She doesn't have a choice at this point.
So they head up to a hotel lobby somewhere where Misuzu, the client for the week, is waiting there with a white carnation to let him know, hey, I'm wearing this carnation. When you look around, look for the person wearing this flower. That's me. We need to talk. And as soon as Kaori points out, oh, there she is with the white carnation, Ryo is just on her. Like literally
and physically. Like, Ryo, unfortunately, this episode has ramped all the way back up to just about the worst he's ever been. It's actually really unfortunate.
And it's kind of unsettling in a way.
It is.
Because we've seen, actually, this is something I forgot to bring up at the beginning, but having witnessed now what we're having to refer to, or even the Japanese people are referring to as Reiwa Mokkori, the modern time Mokkori.
Yeah, which makes this what? Oh, it's still 1989. Oh, has the Emperor died yet?
Do we need to look that up right now to see whether or not this is Showa or Heisei Mokkori?
Oh no, it's Heisei now.
This is Heisei Mokkori now.
This is Heisei Mokkori now.
Oh yeah, we're in a different era of Mokkori right now.
Yeah. Heisei Mokkori is pretty bad.
Yeah, Heisei Mokkori's not great.
Heisei Mokkori is Ryo has literally, like, this woman is sitting in a chair in this lobby, and he's just about mounted her. He's got one leg up over on her chair while he's leaning forward, like, got his arm, like, on the other side of her head. Like
if you guys know what the term kabedon means, imagine him doing a kabedon.
Well, kabedon means, we're gonna tell you, it means slamming your hand up against a wall next to a person's face so that it prevents them from being able to move while you get in really fucking close. And kabe means wall, and don is the sound effect of hitting the wall. Kabedon.
Okay, well, this is that, but with a chair.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, actually.
And if that wasn't bad enough, he, like, pulls out measuring tape to be like, oh, let's see how big your bust is. Ooh, you're 88C. Damn, that's good.
88 centimeters, yeah.
Oh, I thought he was referring to her by, like, cup, but I guess you're right. It's
cup size is C. C is the cup size. This is how I know you're a man. You don't need to know that shit. But here, I'm gonna tell you.
I know that.
C is the cup size, okay? That is, like, the roundness, okay?
I get that.
And then the 88 centimeters is, like, that's your measurement all the way around the entirety of your chest.
I get it, yes.
Okay?
I'm up to speed. Thank you.
Okay, I just needed to make sure you understood.
Yes, thank you.
I'm just saying there's other men listening that might not necessarily know how that shit works, okay?
I don't know how many there are out there. There's probably like 5 of us. Look at me counting myself among them. But like, he hasn't been this egregious in a while. Like, mind you, last 3 episodes of the last season, he took it pretty easy, especially with Mary around.
Right.
And if you want to look at it in that term, because think about it, if they say they haven't had a case in 3 months, and we just counted how long it had been between seasons, that adds up.
It does.
Like, they literally counted, this is how long it's been in between episodes.
And they're gonna do it again later, too.
They are, yeah, so you imagine when they're not being animated, they're starving, Kaylin.
Like, there are several times throughout this television series, and I count all 4 seasons of it, where it feels like they paid attention to how much real-world time actually passed.
See, now I have to go back and look at City Hunter 2 Episode 1, because I think... Well, no, that wouldn't make sense, because there was no break in between Season 1 and Season 2. So, I don't know. I mean, here it counts, you're right. Here they did pay attention to real-world time passing.
Right.
But thankfully, with him doing all this shit, thankfully Kaori's got her hammer there and brings the hammer down on him.
Which is good. Like, he needed that. Anyway, so, here's our lady.
And they're going off to talk now in a cafe, I assume also here in this hotel. And wait, Kaylin, I think I hear something playing in the background. What is that? Wait, I know that song. What What is
Let's
that?
go heaven.
Yeah.
Remember, it's City Hunter's theme song. In
song,
story, in canon, it is City Hunter's
the song that never went away. You hear it playing there in the background. Just to remind you guys, it's City Hunter, guys. Everything's cool.
From season 1.
Yeah, bringing it back. So, Misuzu's having to introduce herself to Kaori and Ryo as a staff member and interpreter for the Embassy of Ruberia. So we're starting off here with another fake land.
Welcome back to Fake Land, you guys. It's located right around...
Where's that?
Oh, it's right below, but right next to...
Oh, okay, got it. If you guys, again, if you can't see here, we're pointing here on the map. We
it's
totally
plainly
have.
Right there.
It's right there.
You can't miss it.
Yeah, it's to the left. And so she's saying she needs bodyguard work done. She needs to be protected, but only for 3 days. And during that 3 days, she would actually prefer it, or says it's not even necessary, that you guys catch whoever's trying to kill her.
Just make sure that the person trying to kill her doesn't kill her. That's it. That's all. And they're like, well, I mean, that's weird, but fine. You're paying us, so I guess cool.
Like, Coyote's down with that, and Ryo is still super horny. He's like, hey, I'll do anything for your size chest, baby. You got a boyfriend?
This is super inappropriate, man. Can we not do this? Cut that shit out.
And Coyote's like, get off her. And Ryo's like, no, come on, you should enjoy this breast with me. And she's like, no, I don't get down like that. And then hits him with the 100-ton.
There's a lot of hammers this episode, actually. We're gonna be keeping track of a lot of hammers.
And here in the background, we hear one of the 2 sound effects we hear a lot in City Hunter, that rustling noise, that...
It's kind of, I'm convinced that it's probably a huiro, you know?
Yeah.
The instrument that looks kind of like a fish. And then you take a stick and you rub the stick against it and it just...
Yeah.
It's like that.
And every time that goes off in this episode, that means there's a creepy guy with sunglasses looking in on stuff.
What's happening right now,
exactly.
Yeah. Because there's a guy with, his hair sucks too. He's got really shitty hair. But he's got sunglasses and he's like, hey. So clearly this guy is involved in the trying to murder plot.
Clearly. So they're driving back to the apartment, and Coyote's trying to tell Ryo, hey, can you calm your ass down? We need you to not do this shit to our client.
And he's like, why though? We gotta take her back to the apartment where she'll be totally safe with us.
Yeah, but you can't be doing shit the way you do it. And he's like, hey, baby, you gotta be down with the way I get down. Remember the food.
And then she buckles.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. She's that hungry.
She's very hungry.
Thankfully, though, it appears that Misuzu has paid them in advance, which is something we always complain about in a lot of these episodes. Like,
you should at least get half of your payment up front.
A down payment,
right.
Something. Clearly, they have stopped off and gotten a bag of groceries because they're coming into the apartment with it.
Yeah, she's ready to make some steak. She's very excited about this. However, they do walk in to the living room where Ryo had, like, when he answered the phone, he was eating all that donburi, and he didn't exactly clean up after himself. So now there is evidence that he's been eating all the food he wants without worrying about how much money they have or trying to share it with Kaori.
So she just lets him have it, like, hey, what the hell is this? Oh, it's donburi. I know it's donburi. How come I didn't get any?
Oh, bitch, don't worry about it. You got that steak. And she's like, ooh, that's right, steak. And then she goes to make the steak.
But also he's like, hey, here's the bill for my donburi. Can you handle that? And she's like, oh yeah, I'll handle it with your half of the money.
I mean, that's fair.
That's priorities.
I think that's fair.
Yeah,
honestly.
like, honestly, if you're running up the tab, yeah, your half's gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
Make you think that Coyote's gonna pay for your ass. And you see that Coyote put together a nice little steak dinner there. 3 different kinds of bread.
A lot of bread on that table. It's also, like, cooking steak ain't, like, nothing. If she's good at cooking steak, I mean, great. Like, that steak looked pretty good.
Like it was sizzling when she brought it out. You know, just like a steakhouse where they serve steak.
Ryo, however, inhaled the entirety of his steak.
Well, yeah, because, like, you see Coyote's, like, trying to savor the meat.
Yeah.
And you're over here like, she's like me for real.
No, you said that. I didn't say that.
No, I'm with Ryo. I would wolf the thing down because I couldn't hold back.
But steak is delicious.
Steak is delicious.
You would miss the flavor.
Which is what she's complaining to him about. Like, that's a waste of steak for you to just gobble it down. And like happens in a lot of these episodes, Misuzu's looking at them and kind of like laughing, like, oh, you guys are so entertaining. You argue, but you're fun. I like that.
They're cute. They're cute.
And she's like, it's so lonely where I am in, where did I say it was? Ruberia.
You know, if we ever do a panel at an anime convention or something, we need to list out all of these fake lands.
We do. We really do. We need a map, and you just put wherever you think it is. Wherever you think these countries are. Where does it sound
like this country is on the map?
And we'll just do that. And she tells them, hey, you should come visit.
My place. Alone. By myself. Ryo's very excited about this.
And he's like, oh, really? Can we? And Cowdy has to hit him with the hammer, but it's another one of these really small hammers?
This is a small hammer. In fact, it's so small that written on it in English is the word mini.
Yeah, mini hammers.
M-I-N-I. Mini.
Yeah, so we have Mini Cooper, now we have Mini Hammer.
I have no idea how much it weighs, but it is mini.
I went to school with a Mini Hammer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was smarter than me.
The Hammer.
No, that was just her name.
Oh.
And like usual, I feel like a lot of this episode is pulling straight from 357 Magnum because we're kind of following these same beats of, like, this is exactly what happened. You know, we had a dinner where somebody argued, oh, you guys are fun the way you argue, immediately followed by the character trying to go take a bath.
I feel like what we're doing here with this first episode of this season is like, they've decided we need to play the greatest hits because this might be a getting on point for some new people, right? Okay, we need to reintroduce everybody to how horrible a person Ryo is because he's gonna want to get into the bath with this woman. So yeah, greatest hits for sure.
Like, we've done hammers, we've done Mini Cooper, we've done Mokkori-chan, and so now Ryo is sneaking into the bathroom with Misuzu. Like, Cowdy leaves her in there with a fresh towel, and he just kind of gets in the door real quick and locks it behind him.
And then starts trying to talk all sexy to her. Actually, Misuzu's playing along with it pretty nicely. You kind of think for 2 seconds, like, oh, she's kind of not into it, but also she's kind of feeling it a little bit. Until there is a trap door in the ceiling, okay? And it is dropping another weapon onto Ryo's head. Now, you might remember, in the past, we have talked about this weapon.
Especially in the last season.
Labeled as Konpeito. And again, just really briefly, so a Konpeito was like a sugary candy, and it looks like it's got these kind of spikes on it. That
it looks like the end of a flail.
Like a flail or a mace. But it's enormous, right? So that is what this ball is named after, is like this.
This one's called Konpeito Ichigo.
Number 1. Konpeito number 1. Unfortunately, the subtitles do not say that, and I think this is like the second time that has happened.
Yeah.
That they've said, oh, it's 1 ton or something like that. But that's not what it says. It doesn't say how much it weighs. It just says what number it is. Okay? We have no idea how much this thing weighs, but it looks like it is very painful. Although I mentioned the subtitle here that is subtitling the words written.
Well, it's
on
more
this
forced
thing.
narrative, right?
That's what I'm getting at. Is I'm using a lot of words to describe what a forced narrative is because most people in this world do not know, oh, what do you mean by forced narrative? A forced narrative is subtitles that is specifically for on-screen text, like a sign, or like this Konpeito number 1. That's what a forced narrative is, okay? I feel like I'm gonna have to explain that every time because you don't necessarily know who's listening, right? You don't know when they're jumping in. Okay, so anyway, I'm talking about these subtitles, and actually I want to compare them just super quick while we're on this topic to the streaming version of City Hunter 3,
Yeah, because we did notice there was a bit of a difference there.
Because when we first watched the series, we watched the whole thing streaming, right? But now we have it on Blu-ray, okay? And
Thanks, Discotech.
Thanks, Discotech. But the streaming version appears, last we saw, appears to be like the old ADV version,
so
right?
So the subs are hard burned.
The subs are burned onto the screen, right? Yeah, they're hard subs. And they're just kind of garbage looking. They're like yellow.
By comparison,
They're kind of garbage looking by comparison. In fact, the entire picture of the streaming version looks kind of grainy, and the sound quality isn't super great. However, definitely buy the Blu-ray. Like, I'm kind of complaining about the Konpeito number 1 right now, but generally speaking, these are good subtitles, they're cleaned up, the picture quality is good, the sound quality is good. City Hunter 3 looks really good on Blu-ray. Anyway, Konpeito number 1 lands on Ryo's head.
And Kaori and Misuzu are congratulating themselves for having pulled one over.
We they did? So they planned this. They planned to injure this man.
So once we assume that she has safely showered, Misuzu is now going to hole up in Kaori's room. Kaori's going to sleep on the couch that's in her room. And Misuzu's having asked Kaori, so how come you're not sleeping with Ryo? Like, aren't you guys married?
I think it's super interesting that she has decided not just that they're a couple, but she's jumped all the way to married.
Even though your husband, that I assume is your husband in my head, is constantly trying to bone me.
Which, I would question that. I would really, really question that. I would be like, for a married guy, he sure does like to try to sleep with a lot of other women.
But Kaori's waving her off like, no, we're just partners. This is just convenient. I don't even live on this floor. It ain't even like that. And Misuzu's having to say back, oh, well, he seems like the kind of guy who goes for Mokkori with a lot of women. How come he doesn't do that with you? And Kaori's having to cover up for it like, oh, well, there's stuff, but like, I got these hammers. That's the reason.
And she pulled out another hammer. It's like 10 tons, this tiny little hammer.
Which is somehow slightly smaller than the mini hammer.
But also, she's had really large hammers that were 10 tons before also. So, like, the compression of this weight is
Look, I'm not going to have this
fluid.
argument over mass versus volume over here. Like, it is what it is. That's what they drew.
Okay, cool.
But Misuzu goes ahead and takes that answer from Kaori. Like, oh, so you're having to... That's why you have the hammers. You're fighting them off you. No wonder.
I mean, clearly he wouldn't be able to keep his hands off of you. Like, she genuinely thinks that Kaori is kind of a cute, attractive person. There's thankfully no jabs at Kaori's appearance this episode, honestly. There's really not. Thank God. That's the one thing that we don't have to put up with here. But Kaori is feeling very dejected, like, well, she clearly wishes that was actually the case, that she's having to just fight him off of her all the time, but she gets this comedic animated arrow through the heart and just this crestfallen look on her face. Like, oh god, what a horrible conversation we're having right now.
Yeah, it's a good moment for comedy. What happens a lot in this episode, especially in these comedic moments, we see a couple of comedy crows, but also there's the comedy dragonfly that drops in and hits her on the head.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those moments too.
Yeah.
So I don't know when they decided, or when Ryo decided, hey, probably somebody's gonna take a chance and try to kill you tonight, so you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just leave the front door open, and we're just gonna see what happens.
Well, not quite open, but unlocked, yes.
And sure enough, dude in the sunglasses from earlier, who again, this is another episode where this guy's not going to have a name. So we used Steve already. What do you want to call this guy?
Johnson.
Okay, Johnson. Sunglasses, Aviators Johnson over here decides to just go in the open door as though that was normal. Hey, the people I'm trying to hunt, they didn't lock their doors. It's my lucky night. And he goes upstairs up to their floor and tries to go in the door where Misuzu's supposed to be sleeping, but Ryo gets the drop on him like, hey, what you doing here?
Hey, bitch, what's up? This guy's clearly done no research on the person who's trying to protect her at all, which I think is a huge mistake because, like a lot of people at this point know exactly who Ryo is. And this guy did not for some reason.
I'm assuming this guy is from this country of Ruberia, so he probably doesn't know.
Which, again, mind you, Misuzu's not from Ruberia. She just works at the consulate, the embassy,
yeah.
Right? She's Japanese herself.
Right.
So, okay, fine. This guy's from another country, and he doesn't know stuff, but we've seen people from other countries that have done their homework.
Okay, well, this guy clearly hasn't.
This guy's just an idiot.
Yeah.
So, but Ryo doesn't even have to do hardly anything. He just judo throws this guy all the way down the hall, throws him into the wall.
Yeah, and he tries to give chase after him like, don't you run, bitch!
But Kaori has made this big confusing mistake, which is not the first time she has done this, and she thinks, oh, Ryo's out in the hall, so I'm gonna throw some shit at him, and down comes Konpeito number 2.
Konpeito Nigo, yes.
Which again has been subtitled, unfortunately, as 2 tons, which is not correct. That is not what that is. We don't know how much this thing weighs. We do not know that information. Sorry, Discotech. I'm gonna have to call you on that one.
And so Ryo's having to explain to them, like, the next day, like, you guys don't understand. There was a guy in the hallway.
It's weird how they don't believe this. I feel like
Kaori doesn't.
I think it's weird that Kaori doesn't believe him. But mind you, it is the next morning, and Misuzu's like, well, I believe him. I mean, he's so upfront about how he feels about trying to bang. Like, why would he be lying if there was a guy in the hallway? Like, he would just admit that he wants to bang.
Kaori has to be like, you know what? I can't argue with that logic. I really can't.
Mind you, Ryo does try to bullshit his way out of things sometimes, but he never blames what he's doing on somebody else.
Right, exactly. He is very upfront about, no, it's me. I'm the one who's horny on main.
Well, no, he doesn't even always say that. He does say, oh no, you're taking what I'm doing as not innocent, but it was totally innocent. Now, he will say that, but he won't say, oh, it wasn't me, it was the other guy.
It was the one-armed man.
He would never say that.
No.
That is what he would never say.
Right. So now we see that they're out on the streets of Shinjuku, going around towards one of the many coin lockers that there are still in and around Shinjuku, or
Yes.
really in Tokyo as a whole.
There's coin lockers everywhere to this day.
Right.
Yeah.
And Kaori's having to complain to Misuzu, hey, it's dangerous out here. We shouldn't be out on the street. It's not safe for you here. And she's having to clap back, well, yeah, it's not really safe in the apartment with Ryo now, is it? And she's
Ooh,
like, damn, you got me.
Yeah.
What
That's a good point. Damn.
What is funny, though, we like looking at this stuff here on the show, of looking in the background to see what they've drawn in on buildings or on people's clothing.
Right.
So we see this one guy with a jacket here that says, Racing on Motorsports.
And, like, I don't know, it's not super special, but it does make you think, they put some extra detail into one specific guy that they really didn't need to put the extra detail into, but they did it. They took that time.
And we also see at a traffic light, there's somebody on a motorcycle with a jacket, and it just says DS.
Like,
and
D's.
D's nuts.
D's nuts. D's nuts.
So they get to these coin lockers, and they're like, so what exactly are we doing here?
And she's like, well, here, I'm going to take out this stack of papers, and I'm going to need you to hold on to this box right here.
Well, let's see what's written on the box here. Help restore the forests of Ruberia?
Wait a minute, you're going to make me hold a donation box? She's like, that's right, let's go outside and start asking for donations. I mean, you can't protect me all the time, and if there's nothing to protect me from, then you may as well just help me collect some money.
And also, here's my backstory that has to do with activism.
Anyway, Ruberia is a place.
Yeah. And apparently Ruberia is a place where Japan specifically does a lot of logging.
Unfortunately, they're painting Japan in a not super great light here. They're deforesting the shit out of this fake land.
To the point where there's only a third of their forests left, she says.
And what was up with her dad specifically?
So apparently her dad was an engineer who worked for Ruberia, and, she would visit Ruberia with him over the course of her childhood, and every time she went to visit, she noticed, hey, there's less and less forest, and up to the point where she realized, oh god, my dad is helping them destroy the forest. He finally developed a conscience and was like, you know what? I quit my job. I'm going full-time into activism. Screw you guys. Save the rainforest. Or save the actual forest, as it were. And she's trying to come to terms with, well, he was kind of being two-faced about it because he was helping him destroy it, but then he tried to fix it. And I still feel kind of weird about that, but I decided I at least want to save the forest. So we're going to go do that.
So yeah, she is feeling kind of a way about her dad, but she's decided to set it to the side a little bit because at least he's trying now, I guess. Sometimes that's what you have to put up with, is that somebody's finally trying, I
Right,
guess.
exactly. And she's like, well, Ryo, I see how honest he is about what he feels about things, and I should be honest about what I feel, and that's what I'm going to do. And so for whatever reason, Ryo and Kaori decide to basically say the title of the episode right here. Alright, it's a Mokkori declaration.
Yeah, what does that mean, Mokkori declaration?
So I don't know if it's, I'd have to go back and listen
because
to it again.
Because maybe they're talking about deforestation.
That sounds like the word for deforestation in Japanese.
I would need to listen to it again. Because that title, saying that there didn't make any sense, at least not in English.
Right.
So.
And contextually, they're saying it here in reference to helping her save the forest, but saying XYZ saves the world. I get
they
what
needed
they're
to
trying
say the title
do,
of the episode, Josh.
But that's never been a problem in any episode of City Hunter we've covered.
They said it.
Yeah, we've never had to be they said it, you don't watch Shinjuku Private Eyes and somebody says, wow, you guys are a couple of Shinjuku Private Eyes.
They said it!
That doesn't happen. Like, I don't know why they decided this was the episode they needed to do that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter, because they're out, you know, there's happy music, because they're out on the streets, pounding pavement, trying to make sure people donate to a very good cause.
Rio doesn't really want to be doing this, but he's now been convinced to start shouting into the street, like, give me some money. And a little girl with her mom comes up and is like, here you go, save the forest. And Rio is a fucking weirdo and says, oh, thank you, little girl, come back and see me in 10 years. No!
Why did you make him say that, Sunrise?
No!
There was no reason for him to say that right there.
No!
It might have been funny at the time, but it sure as hell ain't funny now.
There's the smallest handful of times he says and does shit like this. So for the most part, this isn't him, except for the couple of moments where it is him, and I'm so upset when it happens. I hate it.
You know, I would hit him right there for that. Cowdy was probably busy handing out flyers too. I wish he had hit him right there.
I wish she had hit him, for sure.
Thankfully, though, to break all of this up, dude in the sunglasses is showing up again, as the sound effect tells us.
Right, the weirdo is all... or whatever. I can't make the sound effect with my mouth.
And so he's hiding behind a tree, getting ready to take a shot
he's like,
take a shot at Misuzu, yeah. And so he pulls out his pistol, cocks it. Thankfully, we still have the super hearing sound effect, which is different from the whoosh. Two different sound effects.
What is the name of that instrument?
I don't remember off the top of my...
I'm looking it up. New type sound effect instrument. It's a flexitone. The instrument is called a flexitone.
Okay, the flexitone. It's the weirdo and the flexitone. We got it. So the flexitone sound effect goes off.
Yeah.
And Rio knows to quickly, just like we saw happen here in Netflix City Hunter, quickly pulls out his gun with the silencer on and disarms the guy, shoots the gun out of his hand, and then quickly put the gun away.
He's good at that.
He's very good at that.
That gun just kind of disintegrates. Like, it just blows to shreds.
And again, Rio tries to give chase with this guy. Now, last time he couldn't do it because Rio got hit with the Konpeito.
Yes.
In the hallway. This time, though, Misuzu actively grabs Ryo's arm and is like, no, don't chase him. Let him go.
So Ryo's like, look, bitch, we're gonna need to have a talk about this. I mean, he doesn't say it in so many words. He's not mean about it. That's just me.
But they get back to the apartment, and it's already nighttime again, and she's like, look, I'll tell you guys tomorrow. This will all make sense tomorrow. I will tell you then.
And he's like, okay, well, that's really weird. So then Kaori asks, well, do you know this guy? I mean, seems like you know who he is.
I will tell you tomorrow.
God, you are not being helpful right now.
In the slightest. And so now we're going over to the embassy. We're introduced to a Mr. Gary. I don't know.
Man, the worst names. Like, Ruberia has people named Gary, huh? Well, to be fair, when we saw that flashback that Misuzu had, there were, like, protesters for the deforestation, and half the signs were in English that people were holding up in this protest line. Mind you, the other half was in super weird, funky, made-up language.
It was in wingdings.
It was like, yeah, just... It
Symbols.
was just art. It was
yeah.
just symbol. I don't know, super fucking fake made-up.
It was protest art.
Protest art, sure. Anyway, Gary is here.
And Mr. Gary has some kind of position in Ruberia, whatever. And he's talking to, what did we say his name was?
Johnson.
Aviators Johnson. He's talking to Aviators Johnson like, what the hell, Aviator Johnson? You broke your gun? What happened?
Oh yeah, there was this guy. It was the same guy that I saw the last time. And he shot my hand. Like, his hand is wrapped now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shot my hand. He was clearly really skilled. I don't know who he was, though. So clearly, neither of these guys know who Rio is. They don't know who City Hunter is. They haven't bothered to do a lick of research, and they're going to continue to prove that they don't care to do any research on who their enemy is. They're just like, we'll just fucking shoot him. Gary's just super pissed, like, fine, I've got a gun. I'm gonna go shoot him myself.
The Thanos, fine, I'll do it myself. And so he pulls out his gun. He's like, all right, we're going over there right now. I'm gonna go shoot him right. Like, what are you doing, man? You don't look like a gunman to me.
We already had this guy try to go and do shootings twice.
Like, I'm under the assumption if you sent Aviators Johnson to go do this, I'm assuming Aviators Johnson has more skill with a gun than you, because he had a gun. I guess you do too, but that doesn't look like a gun you use very often.
Anyway, fine, let's go. Let's see what happens when this moron moron tries to do this completely sight unseen, no research.
And back at the apartment, we see that Ryo is back to being perverted Spider-Man. Like, he is moving like Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, a cockroach, a bug.
Of some kind, a pervy bug. And he's trying to sneak into Misuzu's bed again.
Except it's not Misuzu in the bed, it's Kaori. I mean, she does that too. We really are hitting all the greatest hits from the last 2 seasons.
Especially because now, and again, this is just like 357 Magnum. It's not her in the bed. What happens to Ryo? He gets strung up outside, in the mattress, all rolled
and that's
up.
Not even just 357 Magnum. That has happened multiple times over the course of this series. Like, it just keeps happening. Greatest hits. City Hunter 3, Episode 1 is greatest hits.
And I guess it just so happened to time out that when Ryo is being strung up outside, that's when Mr. Gary and Aviators Johnson roll up in their car and they're like, Gary's complaining at him, that's the guy? This is the guy that gave you so much trouble?
Now, to be fair, if you didn't know who this guy was, and you see this guy barefoot dangling off the side of the building like a moron and begging for help, praying to God, Buddha, and Kaori to be brought back inside, you too would be like, this guy's a fucking moron. But Ryo very deliberately plays up being a moron so that nobody suspects him.
And the thing is, we see that Ryo, as has been covered already, Ryo can get out of anything that's thrown his way. Anything that Kaori does to him can be undone. He just chooses to go along with it.
Right.
Because we're back inside and, Misuzu's just being kind of down on herself, like, oh my god, I'm so worried. And Ryo has freed himself completely and gotten back into the room.
He could always do that. That's the thing. He lets himself just dangle there.
But
he could totally always Houdini out of that shit.
Well, he is Houdini'd out of that shit. And he's talking to her about, hey, so I looked some stuff up. So Japan is going to sign a declaration tomorrow to help Ruberia not be deforested. Is that got anything to do with what's going on right now?
She's like, fuck, how do you know about that? As if this probably isn't some sort of public information.
Like it's in the news?
Ryo just kind of goes to the library and looks on the microfiche for, what was in the news about Ruberia in the last week or so? This is not hard to find.
And he figures out, okay, so if anything goes down with this stuff, these talks have to go off without a hitch because nobody wants aid pulled because you really want the forest to be helped. So if anything goes off, we have to tell the cops. Is that why you don't want me catching this guy? Because you don't want to have to make a police report?
Yeah, it's pretty much that.
Well, damn.
Then I don't know how to help you. Well, I mean, he doesn't say that. He knows how to help.
And she's like, yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. If we can just wait till tomorrow, it'll be fine. They'll have signed the declaration, and we can totally go catch these guys. It'll be fine. And Ryo has to inform her, yeah, so when I look this stuff up, it turns out they're not deciding on this stuff tomorrow. They're doing it tonight, actually. So if they're going to do anything, they're probably going to do it here in the next 5 minutes.
And what do you know? Here comes 2 fuckfaces.
Well, if it isn't the blowjob brothers coming up in here. And again, think about this, Kaylin. They fell for it twice. The door was open. They got up to the same room.
That's true.
Aviators Johnson fell for that shit twice. Kaylin?
Maybe we just didn't see the conversation where Mr. Gary is like, now I'm gonna go through this door. Look, it's wide open. And Aviators Johnson is like, but sir, this is how he got me the first time. And Mr. Gary's like, shut the fuck up. I'm gonna do this shit because you couldn't do it right the first time.
Maybe. And Aviators was like, okay, boss, you're the boss. So either way, they get up to the room. And this is greatest hits. You're right. We're pulling some shit from episode 1. They go into the room where they see there is a body in the bed, apparently asleep. So what do these guys do?
They pull out that gun and they shoot the body in the bed. Except, I mean, at least this time, Mr. Gary goes and checks the body that he just shot. At least he went to go check. He's still a moron, though, because it's not a body. It is a stuffed Ryo.
A Ryo dummy.
It is a Ryo dummy.
Which, I love the Ryo dummy. We should have one.
Well, it would be funnier if this were a video podcast, I think. Like, we put him in a co-host chair in between us, right?
Like put him in my Ryo costume.
But we are not on camera for this. Maybe.
No, we aren't, yeah.
Maybe we should do 1 episode live? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's hard. This show is hard.
See, the thing is, though, Mr. Gary's not using a silencer, so those shots are heard by Kaori.
Ryo would have heard it.
Oh, no, we know Ryo.
Even with the silencer, if that had been.
No, Ryo absolutely heard it, but we'll cover why in a second.
No, what I'm saying is, it wouldn't have mattered if he had used a silencer silencer or not. Ryo would have heard it.
Right, but there's a good reason for that here in a second. Point being, Kaori's the one who heard it.
Right, so Kaori has come running in, and she thinks it's Ryo for some reason, just shooting for no reason.
Like, her radar is off this episode.
It really is. They just decided, oh, we need to make Kaori this really illogical bitch with a shit ton of hammers. How many hammers is this at this point? She's had 2 little baby ones, at least 1 big one. This is at least the second big one.
I think this is like the 5th hammer.
Plus 2 completos.
2 completos and 5 hammers, I think. That's where we're at right now.
They are like, did you know Kaori often has hammers? They really want this audience to get the point really fucking fast if this is your getting on point.
You're jumping on point, yeah. And so she runs into the room with this hammer, and she's about to bring the hammer down on Mr. Gary.
But Mr. Gary has put the barrel of his gun right up against Kaori's face. I think Kaori should have just committed to the swing, honestly.
I think if she did, this episode would be over already.
But she doesn't. She just holds the hammer up over her head like, wait, you're not Ryo, where is he?
And he's like, that's what I'm asking. And then the blinds roll up, and Ryo's like, hi, I'm
gotcha,
right
bitch.
here.
He and Misuzu are on the window ledge. They were literally just behind the blinds.
They were just inches away from being shot.
Yeah, but if he doesn't know where they are, they'll never be shot.
So, like, that's why Ryo would have heard the shot. He was literally right there.
Right.
So Ryo goes ahead and punches out Aviators Johnson, so he's not a problem.
Once again, just across the room.
He went flying.
Yeah, just out the door, shattered against the wall.
Like, Ryo had a punch on him.
So I can see where there would be inspiration, right, for the Netflix movie, for him to be able to do some wild shit. Mind you, none of the anime has him going, like, full modern-day shonen, crazy-ass fight scenes.
Not until Shinjuku Private Eyes.
Not until Shinjuku Private Eyes, finally. But, like, when you're talking about the 80s, you see a lot of still images of him throwing some punches and some kicks, right?
Right.
Like, he puts his hand out there, and then they move the camera back and forth across the picture. That's usually how they do this.
Right.
But if you figure, well, he does that kind of often, then maybe he could be a pretty decent physical fighter. Like, if you put together a compilation of, like, years worth of punches and kicks, and you said, he can do all of these things, I can see how we have made this jump to, he not only shoots, he also gets the fuck in there if he needs to.
Like, he's on John Wick levels.
Yeah.
And you know this is greatest hits, because now that Aviators Johnson has been taken out, it's just Mr. Gary standing next to Kaori, and he's holding a gun. So what do? We take Kaori hostage.
Yeah, but why the... God, this guy is an idiot. He's just so dumb. He's clearly getting his ass handed to him already. This other guy's gotten his ass handed to him 3 times now. Like, we're just watching this happen, and this guy is still convinced that he's got any leg to stand on, saying, oh, I'm gonna shoot her. Ryo's just like, fine, do it.
She's ready to die. She'll do it. And Kaori's like, look, I'm not okay with it, but I'll do it. I'm a ride or die.
I'll do it if it's to protect me, Suzu. I mean, you're a piece of shit. She doesn't deserve this. And I think both Kaori and Ryo knew that Kaori was never going to be shot. Kaori was never actually in any danger. If she was actually in any danger of being shot, Ryo would have handled it.
Right.
But it was just to shake this guy up. And he is shook up because he's like, oh my god, they're serious about this shit. They'll just shoot me anyway, even if I shoot Kaori. And he, like, throws her, like, super hard across the room. I'm like, holy shit, man, treating a woman like this, what the fuck?
But that gives Ryo the opportunity to go ahead and quick draw and shoot the gun out of his hand, just like he did to Aviators Johnson. And that's it, that's handled.
And I'm like, I'm sitting here trying to think of, wait, was that the whole scene?
Well, Kaori did hit him with the hammer, too.
Kaori does hit him with the hammer. Okay, yeah, she clocks him, so he's out.
So that time, she committed to the hit.
She finally committed to the hit. She actually landed the final thing. I mean, I guess that's pretty cool, actually, letting Kaori finally do something. Something that mattered, you know?
And before I forget, this last hammer that Kaori hits him with has 115 on it. Which, again, we gotta point this out. If you're going in episode order...
Chronologically speaking, that's episode 115 this week.
So again, you know, they did it in the last episode of this past season. It was 114 on one hammer. This time, it's 115 on a hammer.
They have counted. Cool.
They're being consistent.
They kept track.
All right. And they're kind of jokingly, you know, playing with each other after this. Like, if he had shot me, I would have hoped you'd have cried a few tears for me, Ryo. And he's like, maybe a little.
Maybe just one. And she's like, well, good, because you're gonna die before I do, and I'm just gonna have to stay here with you until you do die, and annoy you the entire time. And actually, he, like, kind of looks up at her, like, he doesn't say anything, but he does smile a little bit, and it comes across like, oh, that's so nice.
Well, yeah, because it's that sort of argumentative roundabout way of saying, I'm with you for life.
Yeah, but she's just trying to say it in such a way that it sounds aggressive and not like, I will be with you forever.
Yeah, and Misuzu picks up on this and she's like, aw, they're sweet.
They fight all the time, but they don't mean it.
They're nice. And so now, because it's greatest hits, we're back at the airport.
We gotta go to the airport because I guess Misuzu, again, she's Japanese, but I guess she's gonna go.
She's gotta go back to her job.
But her job is to be at the embassy.
Yeah, so she's flying back to Ruberia.
No. Ruberia has an embassy in Japan. Okay.
Well, yeah, because they're going to go turn these guys in, because there's this other ambassador there who's there with them, like, hey, we're going to extradite these guys back to Ruberia, and they'll be tried over there. So thank you guys so much for taking care of her. We appreciate it.
How did you guys end up taking care of her? Rio's like, oh, well, I know somebody in the police department who owes me a bunch of favors. And I'm like, really? Are we talking about Sayako? It would have been nice to see that. We're just kind of talking about her off screen, you know?
I mean, I think it's better this way that we just mention her if we're not going to give her any business.
But I did like that Kaori acknowledged, oh, so she's at least fulfilling favors, even if those favors aren't actually, you know, banging with you.
So, I mean, that's a good thing. That's a positive. And we missed this whole thing about what they were trying to do. The whole reason they were trying to hunt her down was Misuzu overheard them talking about, like, smuggling out Japanese artifacts to their country.
Holy shit! Like, that...
We completely blew past that.
We did blow past that. Do we need to, like, slap...
No, I'm just gonna put it in right here. That's what happened.
You know what? She said it so, like, it was such a small part of this overall thing. Yeah, like, we almost could totally eliminate that from the episode itself. There's double problems in this episode. God, yes, okay, Lord. So at the beginning of the episode, for about 2 seconds, you see this advertisement on a screen out in the middle of Shinjuku that's like, hey, there's this incredible treasure of Japanese culture and art that's at, like, this museum or whatever the fuck. It's just there for, like, 2 seconds.
At the very beginning. So more often than not, if there's just something on a screen in the background in the first, like, 5 seconds, you're gonna ignore it. Because this is just setup.
Mind you, like,
setting, not set up.
Mind you, they did subtitle it, so you do sit here and you think, oh, well, maybe that's important. But then they don't get to it until the episode is almost over. Where, while Rio was asking her about, so why don't you want to go to the police? She's like, oh, well, there is all the deforestation shit that I'm trying to protect and they don't want me to protect it or whatever. But also, these guys took the super special ancient Japanese art item and they're trying to smuggle it and sell it to people. And you know, smuggling art across country lines is really fucking bad. And, but I overheard them talking about doing it and they didn't like that and now they want to kill me.
So it was kind of weird. Like, I felt like it could have been one or the other. Like, if she was trying to stop them from deforesting, that would have been one thing. If she was trying to stop them from smuggling, that would have been another thing. But the fact that they tried to make it both, it's like, yeah, like, it's mentioned so little in the episode, you almost could have dropped it entirely.
Right.
Like, we almost forgot it right here. It's so
small. And you took notes!
And I took notes! Yeah. Thank God I had the note here about the statue, because they mentioned, oh yeah, we gave the statue back to Sayako and she just returned it. Like, it's all done off screen.
Yeah, this was not super well planned out.
Because think about it. They mention the statue at the very beginning, in the first shot of the episode. In the flashback, we see that they've got the statue. So they didn't even have the statue on them at the moment. And then at the end, we don't see them with the statue. We're just told that the statue was given back. It so didn't matter.
That's true. Man, that sucks.
Well, good thing the episode's over. Because, yeah, they've flown off on Sunrise Airline. We got the still shot of them walking away.
Flying to the sunrise, which is the irony of that.
So now we got to talk about the new ending to this season. So the name of this song is called Atsuku Nareta, which translates to If I Could Become Passionate by Kiyomi Suzuki. Now, I do like this song.
I like the song, yeah. And I like the ending animation, too. These are getting very music video-y. I mean, they've always been kind of music video-y.
More so than before, I think.
Sure. And I'm fairly certain some of the things we see in some of these scenes in this ending music video are allusions to things that are going to happen later on in this season. I'm pretty sure I remember that being a thing.
I think you're right about that.
We're going to see Ryo having been shot. They're going to be standing in front of the docks at the pier or the port.
Right,
you know?
that they normally have to go do crime solving at
But that's a thing that they're going to do. They're going to be down at the port and they're going to be looking out over the port. Like, these are things that are going to happen later on in this very same season.
Yeah, so we got that going for us. And that's the end of the episode, and so this is the beginning of a very short season. 2 seasons like this, both this and City Hunter 91 are just going to be 1 core each. So we're going to blow through this kind of faster than anything.
Yeah, a little over 3 months if you just stick around with us for this particular season.
And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. It's a greatest hits episode. It changes literally nothing. All it's doing is reintroducing these ideas of what makes a City Hunter episode.
Also, Ryo wears white.
Yeah, Ryo wears white and sometimes like off beige, depending on the episode.
Yeah.
And like, we hate Coyote's hair.
I hate Kaori's hair.
And we're not Sunrise, but we, for what it's worth, apologize for the opening. We didn't do anything. We were just babies at the time. But I wish they hadn't done that.
I was 3.
I was 4.
Yeah, there's an episode next week.
Yeah, so next week, of all the people that Ryo hits on, because again, he's very horny in this first episode, of all the people in all the occupations that you could think you could hit on, probably the one you shouldn't mess with is a lawyer.
Well, he's already hit on a cop, so I guess what's a lawyer compared to a cop? He's hit on a few cops, in fact.
Yeah, you have more than a few.
I mean, like, Sayako herself is one.
And then every cop after that.
Yeah.
I think it's like 4 altogether.
Like, they're all kind of in one episode. Like, Ryo hit on a specific cop, and then there were other...
traffic cop,
and then there were other
Sayako.
minor cops that he, like, is like, hey, maybe he like, slapped him on the ass or whatever and, like, walked away.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So next episode, lawyering stuff. We don't know much about lawyering. We have no experience when it comes
Zero lawyer experience.
Law experience. Oh, that's going to be a fun one.
So come back next time when we cover the second episode of City Hunter 3, The Greatest Flagrant Love Committed, How to Hit on a Beautiful Lawyer.
And if you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both over on most social media. I'm at JoshKnightTheFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 117th episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, I'm declaring Josh guilty.
Guilty of what?
Podcasting.
Damn it.
You're going to jail. That's right. I answered the question for you. You're going to jail.